I love pancakes, but I don't want a pancake booty.
I mean, I'm not trying to fit into my Jordache jeans from 1987. But we all want a rounder rump, a stronger lower body, less cellulite, strong bones. There are 5 exercises that literally turn the engine of your body back on. They make your glutes fire. I mean, but let's be real, even after 50, who doesn't want a cute butt?
Ooh, you got a real cute butt.
But it is so much more than that. It's about having a faster metabolism, a better back, stronger knees, stronger legs. Did you know 70% of lower back pain is a result of having weak glutes? It's about aging powerfully. And it's possible at any age, even after 50. But the exercises that you've been doing to build your booty, they might be the right exercises, but you may have been doing them the wrong way. And if you perform these 5 exercises the right way, you can turn that engine back on, build a stronger body, age with vitality, and build a rounder butt. Before we get into today's topic, I just want to say thank you on behalf of myself and my sleeping princess, Pitbull, Penelope, who's the most perfect dog on the planet. We want to thank you for subscribing to the channel. It allows me to reach more women and help them to hear these messages. And it also is a way for me to understand what it is you want to learn from me next. So before we go too far, please let me know if today is a day that you're like, oh, I didn't realize I wasn't subscribed, so that I can thank you below in the comments. And I always love knowing what level you are. And by level, I mean age. I am level 57. And I can't wait to go to level 58. Like, I just want to keep leveling up, and you are part of that process. All right, let's get to it. I know you are walking, you're getting in your steps, you're active, or you probably wouldn't be subscribed to this channel. But did you know a study from the University of Waterloo looked at brisk walking and how it activates glutes? Less than 32% of our muscles in our glutes are firing, even when we're doing like an intense walk. 32%, like only 32%, that's it? So that means like 2/3 of the largest, perhaps one of the most important muscle groups in your entire body is basically asleep while you're doing something that you would assume, and it is actually very good for you. But is it helping you to build stronger glutes? The answer is no, it's not. And I'm a big fan of walking. You've actually got to do strength training, and not just any strength training. You've got to do the right exercises, and you have to do them with correct form in order to grow the glutes. And the reason why this is important is not just vanity. I mean, we're not trying to look like a 30-year-old with a BBL. I mean, at least I'm not. We're talking about more than that. We're talking about having structural integrity. We're talking about, like I said, having a stronger back, stronger knees. We're talking about the machinery of your body. Research in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy found that 68% of chronic low back pain, that's almost 70% of chronic low back pain in people over 50 was directly linked to weak glutes. When our glutes, the derriere, the booty, is weak, it turns off, and this happens as we age. One of the reasons why you've probably noticed as you've started to age, like your butt starts getting flatter. And I think women especially often believe, well, after a certain age, I'm just going to have a flatter butt. But muscles are muscles, and the way that they respond isn't different if we're training them the right way. If we're spending a ton of time sitting, if we're doing activities that don't strengthen the glutes and instead are strengthening our hip flexors or our quadriceps or other muscles, the muscles in our glutes literally turn off. And our glutes are the engine of our body. It's like we're turning off the most important engine that runs the whole system. And when the part of the body that's supposed to be the engine, meaning the glutes, is turned off, well, the body's really smart, and it's going to be like, okay, so what else can we do to kick in? Like, what other muscle group can take over, right? The body's really smart. You probably already know the answer. Our backs take over when the glutes are turned off. That means the back becomes the crane, the shock absorber, and it can't handle all of that. And that is why so many people after age 40 start to experience back pain. And we are a chain, we're a kinetic chain. So if you're experiencing back pain, you're probably also experiencing knee pain, hip pain, ankle pain, foot pain, you name it. And it affects our metabolic health as well. What does that mean? It means if our glutes are turned off, if the largest muscle groups in our whole body are not firing properly and they're not building muscle there, we're not building muscle there, it means we're losing muscle there. And if we're losing muscle there, we're losing metabolic function, AKA it slows down our metabolism. And that is not cute. One study from the University of Colorado found that those with stronger glutes had a 12% higher metabolic function just from having the stronger glutes. And according to the American Council on Exercise, having poor hip strength is associated with a much higher predictor of your fall rate. So if you've got weak glutes and you've got weak hips, you're more likely to fall. And if you've watched or listened to any episodes here on the Chalene Show, you know that the rate of mortality, the rate of dying after falling and breaking a hip is crazy high, not from the fall itself, but from all the complications related to a fall. Like, we need to make sure that our lower body is strong, not just for shallow reasons, not just for looking great in a bathing suit, not just because we want to look good in our clothes. And I'm certainly not suggesting that walking isn't a great activity. It's a fantastic activity. And so is yoga, and so is Pilates, and so is rebounding, and so are vibration plates. But none of those things are actually going to build the kind of strength that we're talking about today. I want to share with you the 5 key exercises that can help you build this foundational strength that turns the engine, that revs up your metabolism, helps you to have a stronger back, stronger knees, all the things. And I'm also going to share with you the right way to do these exercises, because I myself was doing a lot of these exercises, but I was doing them incorrectly. And even though I've thought pretty strong legs, making these subtle changes, and I'm talking very minor tweaks to your form, can make all the difference in the world. I know it did for me, and I want to share these things with you because I've been able to transform my lower body after age 50 by changing the way that I train and the types of exercises that I'm doing on a weekly basis. 3 days a week, I train my lower body. But these 5 exercises are the ones you want to focus on. And the solution isn't about becoming a power lifter. It's about overcoming something that physical therapists call glute amnesia. It means that the brain has literally kind of lost the neural connection between what your brain is telling your muscles to do and what your muscles are doing. And a lot of this is because of disuse. If you've ever sat for a really long time and then you like squeeze your butt or go to stand up and it's like almost like your legs won't work or your glutes aren't firing, that is glute amnesia, right? Or you've tried to like, remember when you used to like sit in your chair? Maybe you didn't do this. I did this. And you could like squeeze your butt and squeeze your butt and squeeze your butt. Well, if you haven't done that in a really long time, it's like your muscles forget how to fire. That's glute amnesia. And the reason why I'm sharing these 5 specific exercises is because, number one, they're backed by credible research. These aren't the exercises that if I were to say I feel the most burn, because a lot of times that's what we associate with, oh, this is a great exercise for my glutes because I really feel it in my glutes. And for me, I had to shift the way that I think and remember that it's not just about feeling that burn when you're doing the exercise. Sometimes we have to look at the credible studies where they're hooking people up to electrodes and actually measuring muscle recruitment. They're measuring how many muscle fibers fire during these specific exercises and which exercises actually help to build glute hypertrophy and strength. So what's hypertrophy? It's just a fancy way of saying like a bigger muscle, a rounder glute. So these 5 exercises, the reason why I've also selected them is because they're really ideal for you to do at home. And I find that these exercises are easiest to modify. So no matter what level you're at today, you're going to be able to do these exercises. If you're a brand new beginner, you just start with your body weight. And if even just doing some of these exercises with your body weight feels like a lot, you'll just perform the exercises with a lesser range of motion. In other words, you won't go as deep. You'll start where you are today. Do what you can. But the nuances in technique matter. I've been training women, teaching women how to lift for more than 35 years. My program, which is called Phase It, by the way, many of you have asked, Chalene, do you have a program where you actually go through all of the exercises with us, where I could like repeat the exercises, or I could, You could tell me what I'm supposed to be doing every single day of the week. I do. And this is not a sales pitch, but I just want to answer that question and tell you I do. It's called Phase It. And if you're curious, I will put a QR code up on the screen, and there's the link. It's phaseitup.com. And it's really a strength training program. The nuances, the way that you perform an exercise is everything. Having trained women, like I said, for more than 35 years, I can tell you, those who really start to understand how their body works and where they should be feeling things and how to shift, for example, some of the exercises I'm going to show you today, their upper torso and where they should be putting pressure in terms of on their ball of their foot or the heel of their foot. Those very subtle nuances make a huge difference in the results you're going to see. And the first thing I want to teach you is that there are two states of the muscle. There's the stretch phase or state, and then there's the squeeze phase. And the squeeze phase is very important because, let's face it, if you don't know how to squeeze, then, who's going to want to squeeze your booty?
You got a real cute butt.
You need to learn how to load the glutes. It's a way of connecting what your brain is telling your body to that specific muscle group. And it's learning to think about and actually picture where the gluteus medius or gluteus maximus is. So here you can see where the gluteus medius is, and here's the gluteus maximus. And we are going to focus on all of these muscles. When the muscle is in the squeeze phase, that's when the muscle is the shortest. It's when think of it as tightening. And obviously the stretch phase is when it's elongated. By the way, stay tuned because after I get through all 5 exercises, I am going to share with you how many reps ideally you should be doing for each one of these exercises, how many times should you repeat it, otherwise known as sets, and how often should you be training your lower body. Every one of these exercises, of course, can be done at the gym, and sometimes with a lot heavier equipment that doesn't place as much strain on your arms or lower back. So I'm going to show you how I do it at home and how I do it at the gym. And our first exercise is the Roman deadlift. This is the king stretch, sometimes referred to as an RDL. Now, the word deadlift often scares people, but this is a little different from doing like a conventional deadlift. With our form here, you'll notice that the knees are bent. The RDL isolates the hip hinge, and people confuse hinging with squatting. It's not squatting, and it's not like bending over at your back. You want to think of yourself as standing with your back next to a car door, okay? So imagine that you need to close the car door by pushing your butt back. You're not squatting. Notice how my hips are moving backwards. My knees are slightly bent, and as I'm hinging at the hips, I'm pushing my hips back. Now, to lift up, I want to imagine that the backs of my hamstrings, all the way up to the glutes, are like a pulley system. So as I engage the glutes, it's lifting my upper body. You start with your feet shoulder width apart. Dumbbells are just in front of your thighs. Your toes are, just slightly turned out, and the hips are open, and you never want to lock your knees. Notice that my knees are soft here. Now you want to imagine that someone has a band around your waist, and you're not bending your knees, but your knees are soft. And just imagine that someone's like pulling you backwards from the hips. And you're not trying to touch your toes. You're just trying to push your hips as far back behind you as possible and still maintain your balance. Now notice how my dumbbells are very close to my shins. I want you to think of almost like you're shaving your legs with your weights. If you take the weights too far in front of you, you're going to strain your back. If you try to touch the floor, you're going to strain your back. If you try to go deeper than your body's allowing you to, you're going to use your back muscles. Keep the knees slightly bent. Now, use your focus and actually picture the glute muscles doing the work. They're lifting you and they're lowering you. They're stretching and they're squeezing. You want to keep your head in alignment, so imagine a tennis ball right underneath your chin. You don't need to look up into the mirror, although I do recommend whenever possible, especially when you're working out at home, try to work out in front of a mirror. If you don't have a mirror nearby, even standing in front of a sliding glass door, you can typically see your reflection, and watching your reflection is going to help you improve your form. Worst case scenario, set up your phone, record yourself, and then watch it back. Now you're going to lower until you feel that deep stretch in your hamstrings, and that's your stop sign. You don't need to chase it all the way to the floor. Drive your hips all the way back And then as you're lifting up, you're just allowing the hips to come forward, but you're allowing the glutes to pull you back. And when you're all the way up at the top, you still have a slight bend at your knees. You don't need to, I've seen people like kind of thrust their hips forward. You don't need to do that. The second exercise is the hip thrust. You'll start in a glute bridge. So here I'm performing this exercise on the edge of my couch. And you're going to progress by putting the weights right on top of your thighs. And they sell these really kind of cool devices that you can strap your weights into them. I've seen them on the TikTok shop and on Amazon, et cetera. I'll try to find a link and put it in the show notes for you. For me, I just set them on top of my thighs. And the key here is to allow your hips to come all the way down. You have the couch or a bench or whatever it is you're using is right underneath your shoulder blades. So that's where the body's going to hinge up and down. Again, I'm just using the edge of the couch, and I'm doing this to increase my range of motion. The form here that makes such a big difference that most people miss, most people hinge or they kind of like arch their back looking up at the ceiling. And when you do that, you're going to feel it in your lower back. Instead, I want you to tuck your chin down slightly. So you're almost looking forward, almost like through your knees. And then you're going to do a posterior pelvic tilt. Think of like an ice cream scooper, and you're curling under. You're curling your pelvis up towards your chin. It feels a little bit harder. You won't go as high, but this activates the glutes. In fact, it skyrockets the effectiveness of what you're going to feel when you're doing a hip thrust. And it helps to eliminate using your lower back. Listen, hip thrusts build booties. I'm telling you this. But you don't have to take my word for it. A 2025 systematic review found that adding hip thrusts created greater glute growth than squats or deadlifts alone. I used to hate doing glute thrusts because I just didn't feel it as much as I felt other exercises. And it had been ingrained in my brain, we must do squats. We must do squats. But after looking at the research, after paying attention to people who are experts at building glutes, like Brett Contreras, highly recommend that you follow him on Instagram. The man is brilliant. He's just a really incredibly intelligent. I mean, he actually has a PhD. We could call him the glute doctor, but he's known as the glute guy. And he swears by hip thrusts. When I added hip thrusts to my regular rotation and then really focused on improving my technique, I noticed my glutes really started to grow, even though they didn't make me super sore. So we have to eliminate that belief that you've got to be super sore or you really need to feel it burn in order for the exercise to be effective. Because the science tells us, if you want to grow your glutes, you need to add hip thrusts. Number 3 is the Bulgarian split squat. Let me tell you, if you've never done one before, you do not need equipment to get started. This one is so effective and so functional. I mean, if you think about it, there's like pretty much nothing we do in everyday movement where we're doing both legs at the same time. I mean, if you think about it, in everyday life and activities, we're using one leg at a time. We're never like hopping up the stairs with both legs, right? Or squatting up the stairs. You step up with one leg, you step up with the other leg. We're doing one leg at a time. It's the way that we walk, it's the way that we climb stairs, and that forces one leg to work independently from the other. And you probably, if you're like most people, you've one leg that's going to be a lot stronger than the other. This is either due to an injury or it's just the leg that you favor. You don't even realize it, but when you walk up the stairs, there's one leg that you start with every single time, and that tends to be your dominant leg. It tends to be your strongest leg. So don't be surprised when we start to do this Bulgarian split squat if you've got one side that's weak and wobbly and the other side is super strong. Now for this one, I start on the couch, and here's a little tip. You know, you're trying to figure out like how far out should you put the leg that your supporting leg you're going to be standing on. Just sit on the couch, put your heel down out on the floor, just reach it all the way out, and that's where it should be. Go ahead and stand up, and then you'll notice you're going to wobble around a little bit. A wider stance helps. It's going to help you to feel more balanced. And if you're really feeling wobbly, bring a chair over so you can grab it if you start to lose your balance. And I want you to begin by using no weights. Using something to help you maintain your balance isn't going to make the exercise less effective. It's just going to help you to keep your balance. In fact, I find that if I really start to lose my balance and I can grab onto something, I can eke out a couple more reps and get even more out of the exercise. Now, this particular exercise targets the glutes. And in order to do that, pay attention to the angle of my torso. Notice how I'm leaning forward about 45 degrees, maybe a little bit more than that. Every person is different based on the lever length of their legs. So if your quadricep, if your femur is a lot longer than your tibia, for example, you may need to lean further forward. How do you know how far to lean forward? Easy. You're going to feel it in your glutes. All of the pressure should be in the heel of your foot and not the ball of your foot. If you've got too much pressure on the ball of your foot, well, then you know you are probably not leaning far enough forward. Here, you'll notice I'm going straight up and down to demonstrate for you the wrong way to do it. If you're doing the exercise almost vertical, like a lot of personal trainers will tell you to maintain that form, it's impossible to target your glutes. You're using your quadriceps, and that's not the goal today. Notice that as I'm lowering into the lunge, I'm almost sliding backwards towards my resting leg. And then I'm driving back up kind of into that standing position, driving all the way through my forward heel. Moving on to exercise number 4. Again, I've chosen these exercises because, scientifically speaking, they are some of the top 10 exercises that help us to grow the glutes. These are exercises you can do and get a great workout at home with the weights that you have. Certain other glute exercises may help you to build growth, but in my professional opinion, you need weights that are heavier than what most people have at home. I wanted to share with you the exercises that will work with the equipment that you have. And this one is a reverse lunge back. An alternative to this can be the walking lunge or a step up. But most women that I've worked with tell me that those exercises like walking lunges and step ups are brutal on their knees. So until we build that strength, I want you to start with the step back. And again, here you can place a chair next to you so that as you're stepping back, you have something to grab onto. Now, you're not like supporting all of your weight there, but it does allow you to keep your balance. Just using a couple of fingertips on the chair allows you to step back and maintain your balance. Again, I love traveling lunges, but they can be really hard for some people to master, especially if they've got, they don't have great knees. If you've got any type of knee weakness, when you're stepping forward, the knees become the brakes and they have to basically like stop your body's momentum. And that can create a shearing force. And if it's uncomfortable, you're not going to do it. So let's stick with the reverse lunge where the front leg is planted. You step back, lowering that back knee as low as you can. Now you'll notice in this example, I'm using a pillow on the floor because I don't want you to wonder where the floor is or worry that you're going to bang your knee on the floor. Put a pillow down and go ahead and touch all the way down to the pillow. Go all the way down to the floor. It's much friendlier for your joints and it will allow you to get that really deep range of motion. You'll notice that I am hinging at the hips. Again, I'm leaning forward slightly, much as I did with the Bulgarian split squat. You're going to lower slowly, hold it there for just a few seconds or lightly tap the floor, then driving your weight through the front heel. You want to feel yourself pushing back up from that floor position. What you don't want to do is push off the back foot. It's the front leg that's doing all of the work. And this will light up the lower glutes without the strain on your knees. And our fifth and final exercise that you can do at home, how you can do this on a ball, even on the edge of your couch. So here's your setup. You're going to slide yourself forward on the couch until your hip bones are right at the edge. Now, it helps if you're not in a super squishy couch like mine. Like the firmer your couch, the easier this is going to be. Now, if your couch is super soft, it might be a lot easier for you to invest in a resistable. They're like usually under $15. You can get them on Amazon. I will link one below in our show notes. Whether you're on the ball or on the couch, you want to make sure that your hip bones are just slightly off so they're barely being supported. Most of your upper torso is either hanging off the couch or hanging off the ball, or if you're doing this in the gym, it's extended off the front of the piece of the equipment. Your legs stay straight behind you, and regardless of the type of equipment that you're on, you're going to anchor your feet. Next, I would suggest starting with your hands either on the ball or on the couch, so you kind of just get used to this feeling of curling up. So this is not about a back extension. We're doing, yes, it's called a back extension, but it's a glute-focused back extension. So what you're doing is rounding your upper back just slightly and squeezing the glutes at the top. So we're getting that stretch as you're lowering down and that squeeze as you're lifting up. Again, it's not about hyperextending the back. It's not even about overextending the back. It's about squeezing the glutes. And I have found that the easiest way to master this is by kind of rounding my upper back and letting my glutes pull the torso up. It's a cross between a neutral spine and a slightly rounded spine. But what you don't want to do is arch your back. Not to say that that's a bad exercise. It's just our focus right now isn't the erector spinae muscles. It's not the muscles of our back. We are trying to focus on using the glute muscles. And in order to activate the glute muscles, we have to focus on that hinge. Once you're at the very top, pause for 1 or 2 seconds, and then slowly lower down. Now you can see as I'm doing this exercise at the gym, I can go a lot heavier. I like this piece of equipment. It makes it much more functional. It's easier for me to keep my legs secured. And I'm telling you that because I do believe if you are very serious about progressive overload, which is something we teach in Phase It, and it's just a fancy way of saying that you're always challenging your body. And challenging your muscles doesn't just mean adding more weight. It can mean doing more reps. It can mean doing more sets. It can mean adding intensity. It just means challenging your body in a way that doesn't allow it to easily adapt. The equipment at the gym oftentimes is much heavier than what most people can afford or have space for in their home. I also love that some of the equipment in the gym allows me to go heavier without straining my back, without risking an injury. And I'm not saying that you're not going to get amazing results at home, but I want you to be honest with yourself. And you know when you've reached as far as you can go with the equipment that you have at home. And today, gym memberships are so freaking affordable. Think about it. Now, how often should you train your lower body? Well, that depends on your goal. I personally believe that once we hit age 45, your lower body needs to be your primary focus. It is, like I said, the engine to your whole system. A strong lower body improves your metabolism, it improves your back strength, it improves your core strength, it improves your knees, it improves your mobility. Like, it improves everything. It helps you to burn more calories. It reduces the unsightly cellulite. Like, it's the most phenomenal thing that you can do. And to be strong where you have the majority of your muscle is essential. I personally train my lower body 3 times a week. I train my upper body twice a week. And by the way, one of those 3 times a week that I train my lower body, one of them I do upper and lower, but I'm hitting lower body 3 days a week. Typically, I'll do between 5 to 6 different exercises, like we did today, 5. I will do 3 sets. And the number of reps, and I know you want a specific number. To start, I would say to do as many reps as you can and reach momentary, like you're almost like, oh, I can barely do another one. And you should hit that mark in less than 90 seconds. I know everybody wants a number of reps. So if I have to give you reps, I guess I would say like 12 to 15. But the truth is, the body isn't keeping track of your reps. It knows time under tension. And for whatever reason, personal trainers in this industry, we've always said a rep number. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to get the best results if you can keep tension in the muscle and nearly reach failure, not all the way to failure, but nearly reach failure in less than 90 seconds. So if you can pick up a weight that's so heavy, you're not going to injure yourself, but it's heavy enough that you nearly reach failure in like 30 to 60 seconds, even better. 30 to 60 seconds might sound really short, but most people can get in at least 8 reps in that amount of time. So don't worry so much about the reps. But if you can do more than 90 seconds of an exercise, you probably need to pick up more weight. If we're talking about hypertrophy, if you really want to grow the glutes, you need hypertrophy. And that means you've got to have some type of stimulus, some type of resistance, whether it's a band or weights or your body weight that creates that near failure in less than 90 seconds. The other thing that you need in order to grow your glutes is proper nutrition. You need to be eating adequate protein. And if that's one of your struggles and you hate the math and the tracking of macros, I highly recommend you check out this episode, where I talk all about my, I guess, lazy girl's way, or someone who doesn't love math, the way that I like to track macros that works for me. So if you're someone who needs to get in more protein, check that out.